Think about a modern peacock. If future scientists only ever managed to dig up its skeleton, what would they assume it looked like? Looking purely at the bone structure, they would have absolutely no idea it walked around dragging a massive, iridescent fan of feathers. That is the exact problem we have with dinosaurs. Almost every time we pull a famous animal like a T.rex out of the ground, all we get is the biological scaffolding. But occasionally, an animal dies fast enough that the bones aren't the only things left behind. These incredibly rare geological accidents prove that our pop culture image of prehistoric life is largely a guess. 125 million years ago, the Yixian Formation in northeastern China was a thriving, complex ecosystem. It was also violently unstable. Frequent volcanic eruptions would rain down ash, burying entire forests before the dead animals inside them had any time to rot. That rapid burial preserved a small dinosaur called Tianlongdongyi. With only its skeleton, researchers would have filed it away as an ordinary herbivore. But growing directly out of its skin were stiff, hard keratin spikes, some reaching nearly the length of a human finger. This animal made itself incredibly unpleasant to bite, using a defensive strategy like a modern porcupine. It proved that dinosaurs utilized extreme soft tissue survival tools that leave zero trace on the bone. We soon realized this wasn't an isolated incident. Exceptionally preserved fossils of a dinosaur called Psittacosaurus revealed a row of long, stiff bristles projecting straight out of its tail. Because Psittacosaurus is an early relative of the Triceratops, scientists were forced to ask a fairly uncomfortable question. Did the famous three-horned dinosaur have quills too? We might have had the answer the whole time. A highly preserved, mummified Triceratops specimen discovered in Wyoming, nicknamed Lane, retained large patches of actual skin, the empty space around the skeleton. When you extrapolate those repeating bumps against the quills found on its smaller cousin, you have to accept a strange possibility. One of the most iconic dinosaurs in history might have looked like a giant, bristly porcupine. To see how far these hidden features go, look to the Lance and Hell Creek formations in North America. During the Cretaceous, this landscape swung violently between brutal droughts and sudden flash floods. Animals that died and dried out in the heat would get swept up in muddy water and buried in sediment before their bodies broke down. This brutal cycle created three-dimensional dinosaur mummies. Duck-billed hadrosaurs pulled from these badlands, like the famous specimens Dakota and Ed, have perfectly preserved front foot hooves and massive, fleshy crests running down their necks. You can study a hadrosaur skeleton under a microscope for a lifetime and never find a single attachment scar for those fleshy structures. Every skeletal mount in every museum is a heavily sanitized framework. The real animals were highly adapted and wrapped in complex soft tissue we are only just beginning to map out. The T.rex lived and died in the exact same badlands as those mummified hadrosaurs. If that dirt can preserve the delicate hooves of a duck-billed dinosaur, there is a very real chance a mummified T.rex is waiting out there in the rock right now, and it likely looks completely different than anything we expect. While the Earth occasionally preserves the strange animals of the past, we are losing the irreplaceable and strange animals of the present at an alarming rate. That is why I joined Planet Wild, a community that pools our contributions to fund real, measurable nature conservation missions every single month. In North America, grizzly bear populations have shrunk drastically because human highways have sliced straight through their natural territory, cutting isolated groups off from one another. Planet Wild is funding essential data collection to help researchers map these boundaries and construct massive new wildlife crossings to knit these severed ecosystems back together. You can see exactly where your money goes through their monthly video updates. Check out the link below to join Planet Wild and help ensure today's incredible wildlife doesn't just become tomorrow's mysterious fossils.